There is a crucial truth many men overlook about what truly captures and holds a woman's attention. It isn't about showcasing wealth. It isn't about listing achievements. It isn't even about being the most entertaining or charismatic person in the room. What distinguishes men who genuinely spark a woman's interest from those who are merely tolerated is far more subtle and far more powerful. It's the ability to make her feel deeply recognized rather than simply noticed. It's knowing how to ask questions that move beyond the repetitive conversations she's tired of having. It's understanding that attraction grows through creating an environment where she feels safe enough to reveal who she really is. Before we go deeper into this, I want you to pause for a second and think about the last conversation you had with someone you genuinely connected with. Maybe it was years ago, maybe it lasted only an hour, but something about it stayed with you. Why? Because for a brief moment, you felt understood instead of judged. And that feeling is rare. If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling invisible, even while someone was talking to you, then you already understand this more than you realize. Most people today are listening just enough to reply. Very few are listening to understand. And I want you to be honest with yourself for a moment. Have your conversations been creating real emotional connection? Or just passing time? Let me know in the comments because I think this topic hits deeper for a lot of people than they admit. And if you've ever experienced a conversation that changed the way you saw someone forever, stay with me because what we're talking about today can completely transform the way you connect with women. Mary Smith, host of Senior Mindful Living YouTube channel. And what I'm about to share with you has nothing to do with manipulation, pickup lines, or pretending to be someone you're not. In fact, the men who try hardest to impress are often the ones women emotionally disconnect from the fastest. Why? Because women are incredibly sensitive to emotional authenticity. Research in psychology consistently shows that emotional attunement, the ability to understand and respond to another person's emotional state, creates stronger long-term attraction than surface-level traits alone. A woman may notice confidence, humor, or appearance initially, but what makes her emotionally invested is how she feels in your presence. And here's something most men completely overlook. Women are noticed constantly, complimented constantly, evaluated constantly, but deeply understood? Rarely. That's why predictable conversations die so quickly. What do you do? Where are you from? What do you like to do for fun? None of these questions are bad on their own. The problem is, they rarely create emotion, and human beings remember emotion far more than information. Think about your own life for a second. You probably don't remember every detail someone said to you 5 years ago, but you absolutely remember how certain people made you feel. The brain stores emotional experiences differently. Neuroscience research has shown that emotionally charged interactions create stronger memory encoding. In simple terms, when a conversation makes someone feel something real, it stays with them longer. That's why attraction is often psychological before it becomes romantic. I once spoke with a man in his early 40s who was frustrated because women always described him as nice, but never seemed emotionally drawn to him. He had a stable career, took care of himself, and genuinely wanted connection. But every interaction stayed stuck on the surface. When we talked deeper, he admitted something important. During conversations, he was constantly trying to say the right thing. He wasn't actually present. He was performing. And this is where everything changes. The goal is not to impress her. The goal is to understand her. That shift alone changes your energy completely. One of the most powerful questions you can ask a woman is this: what's something you used to believe about life that you don't believe anymore? Now notice why this works psychologically. It invites reflection. It takes her out of autopilot and into self-awareness. Suddenly, she's not giving rehearsed answers anymore. She's revisiting growth, pain, maturity, and personal evolution. And when someone talks about their emotional journey, vulnerability naturally increases. But here's the critical part most men ruin. They interrupt too quickly. They rush to relate everything back to themselves. Instead, listen. Really listen. If she says, "I used to think I had to make everyone happy all the time," don't immediately jump in with your own story. Let the moment breathe. Ask, what changed that for you? That simple follow-up shows emotional presence. And emotional presence is magnetic. Another incredibly powerful question is, when do you feel most like yourself? This question bypasses status and identity labels completely. It reaches the core of who she feels she is beneath expectations. One woman might say she feels most like herself when she's traveling alone. Another might say when she's painting, gardening, laughing with close friends, or sitting quietly with coffee before the world wakes up. Pay attention to what happens when she answers. Her energy changes. She becomes emotionally connected to the feeling she's describing. And psychologically, people begin associating the emotional state they experience during a conversation with the person they're speaking to. That means if she feels safe, inspired, peaceful, or emotionally alive while talking to you, part of her mind connects you to those emotions. That's powerful. Now let's go even deeper. Ask her this: if fear wasn't part of the equation, what would you do with your life? Watch what happens. Most people rarely give themselves permission to answer this honestly. Life trains people to be practical, careful, realistic. But this question temporarily removes emotional limitations. Suddenly, she's talking about dreams she buried years ago. Maybe she wanted to open a small bookstore. Maybe she dreamed about moving abroad. Maybe she secretly wanted to become an artist, write a novel, or start over completely. And this is where emotional intelligence matters. Do not turn her vulnerability into advice. One of the biggest mistakes men make is trying to solve emotions instead of understanding them. If she says, "I always wanted to move to Italy but never did," don't immediately say, "You should just do it." Instead ask, "What do you think stopped you?" That question creates depth. Advice closes emotions. Curiosity opens them. And women remember the difference. Now here's another question that reveals more than most people realize. What's something people misunderstand about you? This question often unlocks hidden emotional truths. A woman who seems confident may admit she constantly doubts herself. A woman who appears distant may reveal she's simply afraid of being hurt. Someone who looks emotionally strong may quietly confess she's exhausted from always being the one holding everything together. And in that moment, your response matters more than your words. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simply, "That makes sense." Not fixing, not analyzing, not judging, just understanding. Because feeling emotionally safe with someone is one of the strongest foundations of attraction that exists. And let's talk about silence for a second, because this is something deeply misunderstood. Silence is not the enemy of connection. Nervousness is. Most people rush to fill silence because they're uncomfortable being present. But emotionally grounded people understand something important. Silence allows emotional moments to land. A pause after a meaningful answer can actually deepen connection. It shows confidence, it shows attentiveness, it shows you're actually absorbing what she said. Now, I want to challenge you with something practical. Over the next week, don't try to memorize all these questions. Just choose one. One question. Use it naturally during a real conversation and focus completely on listening instead of performing. Notice what changes. Notice how different people respond when they feel genuinely heard. You'll probably realize something surprising. The pressure disappears. Conversations become easier. You stop obsessing over what to say next because your focus shifts toward discovery instead of approval. And that's where real confidence begins. Not in trying to appear impressive, but in becoming fully present. Because the truth is, the most attractive people are rarely the ones trying hardest to be attractive. They're the ones who create emotional safety. They make others feel valued, understood, and emotionally alive. That's unforgettable. And before we end, I want you to think about this carefully. Out of all the questions we talked about today, which one do you think would completely change the quality of your conversations? Tell me in the comments because I genuinely want to hear your perspective. And if this video gave you a new understanding of attraction and emotional connection, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because in a world full of surface-level conversations, the ability to truly understand another human being has become rare. And rare things are valuable.